Sometimes a player getting traded just happens at a bad time.
Randy Moss has, in fact, been traded to his old team, the Minnesota Vikings, for a future third-round draft pick.
They end up getting sent away right before the team really pops off. Let's dive into 9 NFL stars who got traded at the worst possible time. And hey, a big shout out to Showtime's Anti.81 for suggesting this video. Dee Ford. Ford emerged as a key cog on the Chiefs' defense in 2016, helping them to an AFC West Division title by racking up 10 sacks and 2 pass defenses. 2 years later, he posted a career-high 13 touchdowns and an NFL-leading 7 forced fumbles. Ford played a pivotal role in helping KC reach the 2018 AFC Championship game. Unfortunately, Patrick Mahomes' MVP season was wasted with a heartbreaking overtime loss to Tom Brady's dynastic New England Patriots. Late in the fourth quarter of that game, Ford infamously committed an offside penalty that wiped out a game-sealing interception off of Brady. Unfortunately for Ford, he would never get the chance to redeem himself in KC. That very offseason, the Chiefs traded Ford to the San Francisco 49ers for a 2020 second-round pick, and he subsequently signed a 5-year extension worth $87.5 million. Ford's 49ers met his old team, the Chiefs, in Super Bowl 54. Kansas City rallied for 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to win the big game 31-20. They ended up reaching Super Bowl 55 a year later, and then won Super Bowl 58 over the Philadelphia Eagles. While Ford had to watch his old team win 3 AFC title banners and 2 Super Bowls, he unfortunately rarely got to play for the 49ers. Injuries limited him to just 18 games over 3 seasons there. And he was ultimately released in the 2022 offseason. Russell Wilson. Wilson's relationship with Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll and GM John Snyder has been testy for a while. Their contract negotiations never seemed to go smoothly, and Wilson was understandably fed up with playing in a rush-first offense that didn't best fit his skill set. After a disappointing 2021 season, Wilson and the Seahawks finally agreed to a divorce. In the 2022 offseason, the Denver Broncos landed Wilson and a 2022 fourth-round pick from Seattle in exchange for 2 firsts, 2 second-rounders, a 5th-rounder, plus QB Drew Lock, pass rusher Shelby Harris, and tight end Noah Fant. The Broncos then handed Wilson a lucrative 5-year extension worth $245 million before he ever took a snap for them. Well, that sure turned into a mistake quickly. Denver surrounded Wilson with an inept first-year coach in Nathaniel Hackett, football's worst O-line, and a terrible defense. Not exactly Wilson's fault that things haven't exactly panned out in Mile High City, but he certainly would have had it better in Seattle if he had stayed long-term. The Seahawks are currently enjoying a renaissance under 2022 Comeback Player of the Year Geno Smith and young studs Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant, Kenneth Walker III, and Devin Witherspoon. Just imagine if Wilson had stayed in Seattle and got to enjoy this team's rejuvenation period in a less stacked NFC. Don't get me wrong, Geno is a fun story, but he still isn't what Wilson was in Seattle. Randy Moss. Maybe Bill Belichick would have traded Moss anyway, but the legendary wideout greatly orchestrated his trade out of New England when he publicly stated that he didn't feel appreciated there. Moss played 4 games for the Patriots in 2010, recording 3 touchdowns in that game. Ahead of the trade deadline, he was sent back to his old team in the Minnesota Vikings. What a shame for Moss, cause, well, Tom Brady played better without Moss and won a 2nd MVP award. Moss's return to Minnie lasted just 4 games, and then he finished his season with the Tennessee Titans. The Patriots went to the Super Bowl in the following season, dropping a 21-17 heartbreaker to the New York Giants. Hindsight is 2020, but you wonder if Moss could have been the difference in that Super Bowl 46 defeat. At the very least, he would have been awfully close to another ring. Moss was traded just as his prime was ending, while Brady aged like a fine wine following the former's departure. And though Moss would reach another Super Bowl with the 49ers in the 2012 season, he was way past his prime, and was far from a factor in their loss to the Baltimore Ravens. Jamie Collins. Collins found himself in the same unfortunate boat as Chandler Jones. Both were key cogs in the Patriots' Super Bowl 49 championship-winning season. But with Collins also entering his contract year in 2016, well, Belichick decided to get something for his versatile linebacker. So ahead of the trade deadline, Collins was dealt to the Cleveland Browns for a 3rd-round draft choice. Collins just never found his game on a lowly Cleveland team, however. And like Jones, Collins had to watch New England win 2 more Super Bowl championships following his departure. The 2015 Pro Bowler returned to New England in 2019 and regained his star-like form, but the Pats fell short of defending their Super Bowl. He then went to the Detroit Lions in 2020 before returning to Foxborough in 2021, well after the Patriots' run of dominance had concluded. Look, Belichick obviously has no regrets in trading 2 defensive stalwarts in the midst of their primes. but it definitely had to sting for Collins and Jones to miss out on the dynasty after playing such instrumental roles in their 4th Super Bowl winning season. Marcus Peters. Peters had a phenomenal rookie year for the Chiefs in 2015, winning Defensive Rookie of the Year honors after leading the NFL with 8 interceptions, 2 of which were returned for scores and 26 pass defenses. After earning a Pro Bowl nod in 2016, Peters' play inexplicably dropped in 2017. His temper and porous efforts on some plays eventually became problematic for KC. In the 2018 offseason, he was traded to the Los Angeles Rams. What a shame for Peters because, like Dee Ford, he had to miss out on 2 championship seasons with the Chiefs in 2019 and 2021. Peters struggled in LA, but regained his star-like form when he was traded to the Ravens in the 2019 season. But, you know, he just was never quite the same superstar after leaving KC. Having to watch his old team win 2 Super Bowls after his departure had to be especially painful for Peters. Chandler Jones. With Jones entering the final year of his rookie deal, Bill Belichick stunned everybody by trading the #1 pass rusher to the Arizona Cardinals in the 2016 offseason in exchange for a 2nd-round pick and offensive lineman Jonathan Cooper. Look, Jones was already a star in New England, but he took his game to true superstar level in the desert. In 84 games over 6 seasons as a Cardinal, Jones had a whopping 71.5 sacks, 19 pass defenses, and 23 forced fumbles. The only problem for Jones is getting traded to Arizona. Yeah, he missed out on 2 more Super Bowl rings in New England, who won it all in 2016 and 2018. In his 6 years with the Cardinals, Jones just saw a single playoff game, which was a blowout loss to the Los Angeles Rams in the 2021 wildcard round. Don't get me wrong, Jones had great individual stats in Arizona, but hey, rings are forever. And you know, he just had to be traded right before the Patriots completed their 2nd dynasty in the Brady-Belichick era. Brandon Cooks ×2. The New Orleans Saints traded Cooks to the defending Super Bowl champion Patriots in the 2017 offseason. The speedy wideout formed tremendous chemistry with Tom Brady, recording 65 catches for 1,082 yards and 7 touchdowns. Cooks played a key role in helping the Pats reach Super Bowl 52. Unfortunately, Cooks was knocked out of the game following a big-time, albeit clean hit from Malcolm Jenkins. The Pats would go on to lose 41-33. In a surprise move, the Patriots actually traded Cooks to the Los Angeles Rams in the 2018 offseason. The Cooks had another productive year in La La Land and helped his Rams to Super Bowl 53, where they lost to his old team in the Patriots. Yeah, so Cooks being traded at the worst possible time, part 1, losing out on a Super Bowl ring for a 2nd straight year, this time against his old team. But in 2020, Cooks was then traded to the Houston Texans just as the team began to fall apart under Bill O'Brien's incompetent roster management. And while Cooks was stuck on a crappy Houston team, his Rams, the team he just left, regained their championship-level form and went on to win Super Bowl 53 in the 2021 season, less than 2 years after they unloaded Cooks to Houston. Oy vey, you gotta feel for Cooks, man. Carson Wentz. Wentz endured a miserable 2020 season with the Philadelphia Eagles, one that saw him endure a league-high 50 sacks. He was benched late in the season in favor of rookie Jalen Hurts, and it ultimately led to Wentz wanting out. Even though the Eagles had fired Doug Peterson, Wentz wanted a fresh start and requested a move, rather than give it a shot with new head coach Nick Sirianni. In the 2021 offseason, Wentz was traded to the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for 2 picks, including a conditional selection that turned into a 2022 first-rounder. The Eagles greatly benefited from this trade, as Hurts himself emerged as an MVP-level quarterback. Wentz, on the other hand, was dumped by Indy to Washington after just 1 season. And then Washington dumped him into free agency after 1 year, and Wentz went unsigned throughout the 2023 offseason. Oof! Looking back, you just wonder what could have been if Wentz never sought a trade. Maybe, just maybe, Sirianni can rebuild him. And of course, Wentz would have been in good hands with an elite offensive line plus the receiving duo of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But even if he didn't regain his Pro Bowl-like form under Sirianni, Wentz would have at least been in a better spot compared to where he's been since 2021. Cran Tarkington. Tarkington spent his first 6 NFL seasons with the Minnesota Vikings, which spanned from 1961 to 66. Though he posted elite numbers, the Vikings just failed to build a contender around him and decided to reset. In 1967, the Vikings traded Tarkington to the quarterback-needy New York Giants. And sure enough, after the trade, well, the Vikings quickly grew into a contender under Bud Grant. They reached the Super Bowl in the 1969 season, where many lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Giants recorded double-digit wins in 1970 and 71, but fell in the divisional round both times. Surely, a QB like Tarkington could have been the difference maker and helped the Vikings to their first ever Super Bowl. Well, Minnesota reacquired Tarkington in a trade with the Giants in 1972. He helped them to 3 Super Bowl appearances, but they were all losses. Well, fast forward more than a half a century later, and the snake-bitten Vikings are still awaiting their first ever Super Bowl championship. Would Minnesota have been a dynasty if they had kept Tarkington the entire time? But which other NFL stars got traded at the worst possible time? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.